So here we are, episode 3 of Feral Reads. Yes, this is still a thing. Today I'm going to be assailing your ears with some of my dark poetry and nursery rhymes. There are some originals in here, though most of them I wantonly borrowed the stylings and ideas from nursery rhymes that we have. The premise here is that this is kind of demonic versions of nursery rhymes that we already have. There are a few of my own in there. See if you can pick out which ones are which. So, without further ado, I give you the Others Nursery Rhymes. Antigonish Antagonist. On my way to climb the stair, I was clutched by hands that were not there. They pulled me hard, and with a smack, the stairs I fell on broke my back. I lay there shattered on the floor. The hands still weren't there anymore. I felt them not crushing my throat, and heard them as they didn't gloat. By the time my corpse was found, bent and bloodied on the ground, heaven wouldn't let me in, and hell had claimed I had no sin. So when you're climbing up the stair, beware the hands that are not there, for my hands aren't there with them now, and I will gladly pull you down. Bloody Mary, quite contrary. Bloody Mary, quite contrary, how does your cellar grow? Bone-littered floors and iron doors, and shackled chains all in a row. Bloody Mary, quite contrary, how does your dungeon grow? With burning coals and brazen bulls and iron maids all in a row. Bloody Mary, quite contrary, how does your graveyard grow? With severed heads, skin ripped to shreds, and bodies burned all in a row. Bloody Mary, quite contrary, your devils will see you soon. The ones you've killed will see blood spilled as you are dragged down to your doom. Diddle Diddle Dumpling. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John, tortured the poor girls all night long, cut off limbs and stitched more on. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John, keeps some parts for his collection, veins and intestines nice and long. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John, stitched parts together back to front, hands on legs and feet on top. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John, brought it to life with a charge so strong, he kept it as an affront to God. Diddle Diddle Dumpling, Butcher John. Dr. Foster. Dr. Foster went to Gloucester, bringing a shower of blood. The wide toothy grin of the monster in him told others just where he stood. Dr. Foster went to Gloucester, taking the tools he had made, the scalpel and shears he'd used through the years, collecting the souls he would trade. Dr. Foster, back from Gloucester, bag tucked under his arm, he'd called it a joke when he took his oath, and sworn he would always do harm. Georgie Porgy. Georgie Porgy, pudding and pie, kissed the girl and made her cry, his heavy frame upon her thin, his fetid breath upon her skin. Georgie Porgy, pudding and pie, hides the body and says goodbye. Another night he'll do the same, time and time and time again. If you see him. If you see him late at night, his shadow dark beyond street light, do not quake or show your fright, do not stray beyond his sight, instead bid unto him good night, and to your spot stay rooted tight. He'll flash his teeth both sharp and white, and in the dark they'll glisten bright. Still don't quake or show your fright, do not stray beyond his sight, again bid unto him good night, and to your spot stay rooted tight. He'll try to scare you to a flight, do not quake or show your fright, do not stray beyond his sight, forcefully bid to him good night, and to your spot stay rooted tight. With loss of game he'll take his flight, then you can hide until sun's light, but you will see him the next night. Never quake or show your fright, never stray beyond his sight, instead bid unto him good night, and to your spot stay rooted tight, so you might live for one more night. Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. The voices screamed to make the kill, and she ripped him into quarters. They tore his flesh and splintered bone, and there are those who say he haunts the ground that caught his blood unto this very day. Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty hides in his cave, knowing at times all kids misbehave. He will wait for a small child to stray, into his lair he'll feast that day. Humpty Dumpty gathers the bones, makes the remains into all that he owns. Female-legged chairs upholstered in skin, back made from ribs and arms out of shins. Humpty Dumpty finally sleeps, smothered in all the souls that he keeps, For countless years he'll slumber away, but he will awake and then feast again. Little Bo Peep. Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and doesn't know where to find them. The creature that crawls and follows your calls has taken every one of them. Little Bo Peep, you'd better not shout, don't cry, call, nor sing in vain, for each noise you make, with gentle voice quake, calls that thing back here again. Little Bo Peep, you quietly pray as you huddle in bed again, for you have been found and claws now unbound are tapping at your window pane. Little Bo Peep, you thought it a dream and opened your window up wide, and to your chagrin you welcome it in, and into your bedroom it glides. Little Bo Peep, your family weep at the horror that's found in your home. You're now with your sheep, as your head it will keep, a souvenir beside his throne. Old Mother Hubbard. Old Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard to fetch her hellhound a bone, femurs and ribs of children who fibbed, and some still alive to moan. Old Mother Hubbard, back from the cupboard, glistening red and slick hands. It's not just her pup that gobbles them up, those children who stray on her land. Peter, Peter, People Eater. Peter, Peter, People Eater had a wife and couldn't feed her, till he found the body dead, so he fed her that instead. Peter, Peter, People Eater had a child and he would beat her, till he put her on the plate and found out that she tasted great. Peter, Peter, People Eater, murderer and child abductor, heard the law was on his case, and so he tried to flee this place. Peter, Peter, People Eater, holed up in the empty theatre, nothing left to eat but one, started by chewing his thumb. Peter, Peter, People Eater, finally found torn asunder by his own vile gnashing teeth, and at last the town could grieve. Pretty little sweet thing. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. The water sits so far away, as though it does not want to play the game she has in plan today, but still upon the sand she'll stay. The pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. The water comes, it can't resist the moon that sits so far from it. The glow of Luna through night's mist is pale and just so well befits the pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. The water laps around her feet, the cool refreshment bittersweet, as fate she cannot hope to beat, and so submits to her defeat. The pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Around her waist the water laps, though the cold her energy saps, her resolve it never flaps, as in a chilled embrace it wraps. The pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Around her neck the water swills, and ties her down with its harsh chill, but still she sits stock dead still, as soon she knows her lungs will fill. The pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Just one tear at last she sheds, as for a time her fate she dreads, but soon she'll put those fears to bed, accepting she'll be better dead. The pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing waiting for the high tide. Pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing drowned below the high tide. The pain she felt right from the start, the breaking in her mourning heart, that tore her tender soul apart, all of which at last departs from the pretty little sweet thing sat upon the seaside, pretty little sweet thing drowned below the high tide. Poor little lost thing sat upon the seaside, poor little lost thing drowned below the high tide. She sits on those sands every day, waiting for the one who may release her from her true dismay, that till the end of time she'll stay. The poor little lost thing sat upon the seaside, poor little lost thing drowned below the high tide. The Wolf in the Glen. The wolf in the glen sniffs at the air, blood fills his mind and his nose. A creature he hunts has suffered the brunt of something it let get too close. The wolf of the glen draws closer until the hunt tingles within his veins. The hunger he feels has sweetened the deal and numbs out his fear again. The wolf of the glen knows he must eat soon, whether fresh or rotten meat, for animals gone, once here for so long, have left his tired old muscles weak. The wolf of the glen finds what he had smelled, and chews what are left of the bones. The animal met with a terrible fate, and died here afraid and alone. The wolf of the glen, with something inside, can finally wag his long tail. He picks up the gift that something has left, a scent trace upon the trail. The wolf of the glen had followed the trail and found what was sat at the end. He became aware that he should be scared and slinked away softly again. The wolf of the glen now tries to forget the thing he had seen in the woods, the teeth in the maw and claws on the paw of a thing he might once have called food. The wolf of the glen, now out of time, he finally senses the truth. The thing he had tracked has followed him back, and now it is hunting the wolf. Won't feel a thing. They said I wouldn't feel a thing, yet as they pushed the needle in, I heard his cursed angels sing. They lied to me, they lied! They said it would be quick and clean, like slipping down into a dream. They couldn't know how it would be. They lied to me, they lied! They said to me for what I'd done, I'd burn in hell before too long. They just can't see that they were wrong. They lied to me, they lied! They said my body they'd drop down, and nobody would wear a frown, that weeds upon my grave would grow. They lied to me, they lied! I felt it coursing through my veins. The fluid caused me so much pain. I wished that I could live again. I died for them, I died! He came to me and had a deal. Revenge, a cold, delicious meal. He said my hate would become real. He lied to me, he lied! I took his hand and shook it fast. The deal I couldn't let to pass. He said I might just be the last. He lied to me, he lied! I stalk the land and hunt my prey. They think their family's safe to stay, with homes and lives so far away. They'll cry for me, they'll cry! I found them hiding in their rooms, and seeing me they feared their doom. I'll send them down to see him soon. They die for me, they die! I said they wouldn't feel a thing, yet as I wrenched them from their skin, their tears did fall and screams begin. I lied to them, I lied!
Okay, there we have it. What can I really say about this one? Apart from probably that I don't really have the voice of poetry, and I should probably just stick to stories. One of the issues that I've had is that this one was a bit rushed. I haven't had a chance to record this one until really just a few days ago, so I've not really had a lot of chance to go back and redo anything that I didn't like. It also didn't help that when I did get the chance to record, I was pretty much hunched over on my sofa at 5 a.m, so I was stuck with bad posture, blocked nose, and I kept running out of breath because of it. As for the poetry itself, there were quite a few approximate rhymes in it, but I'm willing to forgive myself for that. I hope you are as well. The ones that I did particularly like, well, there's quite a lot of them in there. My personal favourite was Wolf of the Glen. That's one that I wrote myself. I'm not even sure why I love this one. It could just be the flow. It could just be that it's about wolves. Who knows? I really do like the concept, though, of the hunter becoming the prey to something it used to hunt. You know, a mutated form of something that it would have previously eaten. And before anyone questions it, the terrible fate, no, that is not a Ben Drowned reference. People have been using the words terrible fate and you've met with a terrible fate long before Legend of Zelda. There were a few that I didn't think were my best work, but they weren't particularly bad. I mean, Pretty Little Sweet Thing goes on a bit, and I couldn't really put the emotion into that one that I wanted, but again, that's really down to not having the time to go back and redo anything. In Humpty Dumpty, I'm not happy that in the first verse of that, the sentence breaks into the next line, but again, it's something I'm willing to forgive if you are. Little Bo Peep, interesting fact, actually originally referenced the rake back when I was in my obsessed with creepypasta days, but, I don't want to really bring those into it, so I changed that up to not make any mention. It's still implied that it could be, but I avoided actually bringing it in. Other than the approximate rhymes that I use throughout some of these, it's all pretty much for muchness. Maybe someone with a voice for poetry could read them better. I don't know. I'll have to see if I can find someone for it. If you did like these, they're actually all available on an ebook at the Kindle store. I'll drop a link to that in the description. It's one that I wrote and it's been up there for a while. Just check it out. Buy it if you want. Please. Other than that, really, just if you liked it, stick a like in the like bar. If you didn't, then don't. So feel free to drop in the comments if there were any that you liked, if there were any that you didn't. Just basically review them, Tell me where I could improve, and just generally say what you got to say. Until then, I'll see you next time. Everybody be beautiful to each other.